Hey guys, welcome to the Pattaya Movie Channel, commencing the narrative with a cinematic spectacle from Italy circa 1985 phenomena. Jennifer is the progeny to Paul, the acclaimed American actor. Due to various circumstances, she was enlisted in a Swiss all-girls academy. This institution was once the abode of a renowned maestro. Old sections of the architecture retained even after its transformation into an academy. Nonetheless, routine ingress or egress was prohibited, with teachers emphasizing the rule.
The school has its rules.
Regrettably, Jennifer is plagued with sleepwalking afflictions. Her first night in the academy marked the advent of sleepwalking, not only trespassing in the off-limits zone, but also unknowingly witnessing a sinister crime. While this terrified Jennifer, it failed to jolt her awake, resulting in her wandering aimlessly on the road, only to be struck by a car. Despite the collision, Jennifer remained in a state of somnambulation. Quickly, two youngsters alighted from the car and seized her. Their destination remained unknown. Realizing her sleepwalking state, Jennifer cried out for help. However, the duo misunderstood her state as drug-induced, disbelieving her pleas. A scuffle ensued, passing through a small grove. In her struggle, Jennifer managed to unlatch the car door, propelling her out. Miraculously, she rolled over grasslands without sustaining much harm. Her sudden act startled the duo, who abandoned her, making their escape in the car, leaving the sleepwalking Jennifer alone in the inky blackness of the grove. Unexpectedly, an orangutan appears, guiding Jennifer to the dwelling of John McGregor, an entomology professor. It turns out that John was impeded by a leg injury from years past and had trained a specific orangutan to attend to his needs. Arriving at John's dwelling, Jennifer finally awakens, discovering John's fascination with entomology. A friendship unfolds. Since childhood, she possessed an extraordinary affinity for insects.
It won't hurt me. Insects never hurt.
Not only would no insect harm her, but they could also perceive her emotions. Perhaps the orangutan guided her due to the same sensitivity. During their conversation, Jennifer learns of a former assistant who bears an uncanny resemblance to her, but disappeared inexplicably. Moreover, John suspects foul play in the assistant's vanishing. As just prior to Jennifer's arrival in Switzerland, John assisted the police in a murder investigation through the larvae on a skull. He estimated the crime took place approximately 8 months ago.
Some 8 months ago.
And 15 days.
Apart from this case, local folklore whispers of a deranged killer preying on young girls. Making the connection with the assistant's disappearance, John formulated such a theory. However, at this moment, Jennifer remains oblivious. The crime she witnessed during her sleepwalk was indeed committed by the lunatic killer. The next day, news circulates of another missing girl from the school. This marks the first case in the last 8 months. Jennifer, having left the school grounds the previous night, naturally falls under suspicion.
What you did last night?
With her known sleepwalking condition and no memory of her sleepwalking whereabouts. The school summons a doctor to examine her brainwaves, aiming to verify her narrative. Jennifer, feeling violated, even engaged in a heated debate with the teachers. Yet this remained her only recourse to prove her innocence. Unexpectedly, scenes she had witnessed the previous night flashed across her mind during the examination. Not only did this startle her, the extreme abnormality in her brainwaves lead the doctor to speculate a possible dissociative identity disorder. As the adage goes, where three women gather, drama ensues, and an all-girls academy is rife with them. Jennifer's abnormalities inevitably circulate at breakneck speed. Students, already envious of her beauty and affluent background, start to gossip behind her back. Jennifer realizes her sleepwalking condition could put her in jeopardy. Hastily, she attempts to contact her father, Paul's lawyer. But coincidentally, the lawyer is away for the holidays and won't be back in the States for 3 days. Jennifer finds herself entrusting her safety temporarily to her roommate, Sophie, begging her to keep watch at night, preventing her from leaving their dorm. Sophie is slightly apprehensive about the circulating rumors, but being a die-hard fan of Paul,
Oracular style. The poet, there was oracular style. Oracular style.
she agrees to Jennifer's plea.
Okay, I'll keep an eye on you tonight.
However, what Jennifer didn't anticipate was that very night Sophie left her alone in the dorm to meet with a lover. Moreover, the deranged killer was lurking in the academy's grove. The moment her lover departed, the isolated Sophie became his victim. Shortly after, Jennifer sleepwalks again. Fortunately, employing the Johns method, she awakens in her dream only to find Sophie missing. Peering at the grove from the window, anxious for Sophie's safety, Jennifer sets out to search. But once outside the dormitory building, she finds herself at a loss. At this moment, a firefly, perceiving Jennifer's despair, emerges from the grove, landing on her hand, but it didn't guide her to Sophie. Instead, it led her to a glove perched on a tree branch. In her trust of insects, Jennifer retrieves the glove back to the dorm, only to discover the glove teeming with maggots, and through her empathic connection with the insects, she visualizes a corpse. This sight provokes a terrified scream from her. Such an extraordinary event was naturally met with disbelief. The next day, after an interrogation by the police, a downcast Jennifer pens a letter to Paul. Then she takes the tram alone to visit John, hoping that the insect researching professor can provide her with answers. As this was the first time she saw through the eyes of insects via her empathic ability. Facing Jennifer's conundrum, John expresses the need for some time to study the maggots, and he also notices that the insects he keeps indeed react to Jennifer's emotions. Therefore, he becomes increasingly interested in Jennifer's situation and gifts her a book he authored. But the others are not as accepting and friendly as John. Upon her return to school, Jennifer encounters the ridicule of her classmates. They all deem her insane, and they even read out loud the letter she wrote to Paul for the teachers to hear. Jennifer, who had just returned to the dormitory, witnessed this scene, feeling violated. She snatches the letter and runs. As soon as she exits, she is surrounded and mocked by her classmates. Feeling helpless, Jennifer covers her ears and stumbles around in the crowd, but the more she does so, the more her classmates become excited, and the teachers were unable to stop them. Unexpectedly, Jennifer's anger and grievance draw in a swarm of flies. They blanket the school's skies like a dark cloud and descend, wildly colliding against the windows. Seeing the insects outside, the nearly broken Jennifer finally finds a sliver of comfort she can't help but express to the insects, "I love you." The students and teachers notice the unusual scene outside the window. The crowd finally falls silent, astonished by the spectacle, but Jennifer suddenly faints. When she awakens again, already lying on the dormitory bed, the headmaster converses with the nurse about his suspicions, believing Jennifer to be the legendary Fly King representing evil, and demanding the nurse watch Jennifer closely, waiting for individuals from the psychiatric hospital to collect her. Upon the headmaster's departure, the nurse knits a sweater while guarding Jennifer and inadvertently falls asleep. Pretending to be asleep, Jennifer observes the nurse for a while before finally quietly removing the infusion needle, packs two things, and flees. After escaping the school, Jennifer visits John's house again. John first consoles her after listening to her recent experiences, then allows her to observe his latest discovery through a microscope, the larvae of large carrion flies. He hands an adult carrion fly to her, telling her that this species of fly feeds on corpses and can smell a corpse from far away. Rushing straight to the source of the smell, following the carrion fly will surely lead her to the perpetrator's hideout. To prove her innocence and for her roommate Sophie, Jennifer heeds John's words, taking the carrion fly aboard a sightseeing bus. According to the police investigation, a girl who disappeared 8 months ago never returned after boarding this bus. Indeed, the carrion fly leads Jennifer to an empty house. However, Jennifer doesn't stay long before a real estate agent discovers her. Jennifer flees in panic, but the carrion fly doesn't follow, because there is a decomposed human hand still remaining in the basement of that house. That evening, while the chimpanzee waits for John to return, the door is suddenly closed from the inside. Realizing there is a stranger at home, the anxious chimpanzee screams, successfully alarming John. But the immobile professor is stabbed to death by the perpetrator. Witnessing his master's murder, the furious chimpanzee jumps onto the perpetrator's car, seeking revenge for his master, but is thrown off the roof by the perpetrator. Upon returning to John's residence, John's body has already been discovered. Knowing that John's cause of death may be related to the murder investigation, Jennifer realizes that she may be in danger. The next day, she quickly goes to the bank and calls her father's lawyer for help, telling him that she might be murdered, requesting him to wire the money for the air ticket immediately. However, while waiting for the money transfer, Jennifer is discovered by Frau Bruckner, a school teacher. Upon seeing Frau, Jennifer instinctively wants to run, but Frau explains that she was contacted by her lawyer, tasked with buying her a plane ticket. Despite grumbling about the lawyer's lack of integrity, Jennifer, who is intent on leaving school, doesn't think much about it. Can only follow the Frau's arrangement and returns to her place with her. Upon alighting from the car, Jennifer notices the Frau's house is exceptionally large. Frau explains that she doesn't live alone and invites Jennifer in. Then, Jennifer discovers that all the mirrors in the house are covered. Frau says it's because her son looks somewhat odd. Covering them prevents her son from seeing his own reflection and reassures Jennifer not to be afraid, telling her she won't encounter her son. Hearing this, Jennifer feels sad and expresses her wish to meet the Frau's son. However, Frau responds rather intensely, "No, you won't meet him." After speaking, Frau goes to prepare a drink for Jennifer. However, Jennifer spots what seems like the shadow of a child not far off. Believing it to be the Frau's son, she walks over, led by curiosity, but she accidentally kicks a toy on the ground, knocking the child down. Just then, Frau hears the commotion and walks over. Jennifer immediately apologizes to the Frau, saying she didn't mean to, but Frau walks over and picks up the little boy, who turns out to be just a puppet. Yet Jennifer is startled by Frau's actions. Before she can recover, Frau walks back to her and feels her forehead, insisting that she has a fever and needs to take medicine. Jennifer doesn't think she's sick and refuses to take it. But Frau, who was initially very kind and friendly, suddenly becomes stern. After an argument, Jennifer reluctantly agrees. She takes the medicine and swiftly runs into the bathroom, locking Frau outside. Once in the bathroom, she doesn't think much and actually takes the pill, but finds the bathroom is full of maggots of the blowfly. Thinking of John's words, Jennifer suddenly realizes that she might have walked into a trap. She hurriedly tries to induce vomiting to spit out the pill she just swallowed. At this point, Frau outside notices something is amiss, starts to bang on the door frantically, and begins to scold Jennifer. Jennifer opens the door and tries to stay calm, making an excuse. Upon seeing a phone, she says she wants to call her lawyer to let him know she's safe. However, Frau walks into the bathroom and finds the pill she spat out. Knowing that Jennifer has perceived something, she rushes to prevent her from making the call. The two get into a scuffle. During this, Frau is pushed by Jennifer, and thus, her true colors are fully revealed. She attacks Jennifer from behind and knocks her out. Just then, the sound of a car is heard from downstairs. Frau looks out the window, seeing an adult male getting out of the car and walking towards the front door. She has no choice but to lock Jennifer up first and seal all the doors and windows to prevent her from calling for help. She then goes downstairs to open the door. From the conversation, she learns that this person is Geiger, a local police officer. Officer Geiger had also been to the old house that has been vacant for 8 months. He came here following clues, intending to apprehend the murderer. While Frau keeps Officer Geiger occupied, Jennifer regains consciousness. Finding no escape routes in sight, she endeavors to retrieve the phone locked by Frau in the room. Yet before she manages to succeed, she hears the teacher calling her name outside the door. Evidently, in the eyes of this deranged murderer, Jennifer is merely a powerless plaything. This voice startles Jennifer, causing her hand to tremble. The phone that she barely managed to hook up with a clothes rack falls down once again, coincidentally dropping into a hole. Luckily, the power cord is still connected. Without a second thought, Jennifer swiftly climbs through the window into the room. Following the phone line, she jumps into the hole. Upon retrieving the phone, Jennifer is about to call her lawyer. Suddenly, a pair of bloody hands emerge from behind her, dragging her into the basement. Upon seeing Jennifer, the individual quickly explains that he is a police officer, but Jennifer is already terrified, desperately attempting to free herself from his grip, stumbling and falling into a pool. Upon opening her eyes, she sees the surroundings filled with decaying bodies and maggots. Clearly, this is the murderer's corpse decomposition pool. Confronted with this scene, Jennifer instantly breaks down and screams. At this moment, the murderer, who has been disguising herself as Frau the teacher, also enters. Upon seeing Jennifer's dreadful condition, she can't help but burst into maniacal laughter, even sadistically stepping on her hand to prevent her from climbing ashore. Luckily, Officer Geiger manages to free himself from the handcuffs in time, toppling the murderer, and Jennifer finally manages to escape death. However, while fleeing, Jennifer notices a little boy crying facing a wall. The compassionate Jennifer assumes the little boy is also the prey of the murderer. She runs over to comfort the boy and plans to take him along. But when the boy turns around, Jennifer is startled by the boy's deformed face. Immediately understanding this is Frau's son, she turns and runs again, exiting the house. She quickly hops onto a motorboat and starts it. Yet before the boat gets far, the boy, wielding the murder weapon, jumps onto the boat as well. The two begin to struggle again on the boat, and the fuel tank gets punctured by the murder weapon, starting to leak oil. The bugs also detect Jennifer's crisis, rushing to entangle the little boy. Only when the boy falls into the river does Jennifer finally heave a sigh of relief. Looking at the calm river surface, she thinks she has finally escaped danger. But soon, Jennifer realizes the boat isn't moving. She pulls on the valve and the leaking fuel tank instantly catches fire. Jennifer hastily jumps into the river, only to hear a few loud bangs. The small boat turns into ashes in an instant, and the oil floating on the river's surface continues to burn, forcing Jennifer to dive underwater and escape. Who would have thought the boy who fell into the river earlier isn't dead? Like a specter, he follows Jennifer and grabs her leg. Jennifer struggles fiercely for a long time before she finally manages to free herself, barely making it to the shore. And before she can take a few steps, a car stops on the road not far away. After experiencing so many perilous situations, Jennifer has become extremely cautious. She dares not to proceed, only to find that the person stepping out of the car is the lawyer she has been trying to contact. Their eyes meet, and both are extremely excited. Jennifer thinks she has finally been rescued, happily running towards the lawyer, only to see, the next moment, the lawyer's head falling off right in front of her eyes. Turns out Frau was holding a metal plate and directly took out the lawyer. Right after, Jennifer is also knocked down by Frau, who has lost her son, is unusually agitated. Just as Jennifer is feeling desperate, thinking there is no escape, Frau collapses to the ground. Upon looking, Jennifer sees it was John's chimpanzee that attacked Frau with a knife he picked up from somewhere. At the end of the story, of course, the chimpanzee avenges John, also saving Jennifer, then hugging Jennifer tightly. This film utilizes Gothic settings and characters. Reportedly, it's director Akito's unique horror aesthetic, the stark visual contrast between the angelically kind-hearted female lead and the gory environment. Although the logic of the plot is a bit peculiar by the end, it's still unclear why the murderer wanted to kill. However, the beauty of the female lead and the mysterious atmosphere are worth appreciating. That's it for today. Likes, subscriptions, and comments are welcome. See you next time.